Super wide.
I'm already pretty wide.
We have to get all of this in frame. Are we on? All right. We're going to go on a tour. What do you say? Come with me. We're going to start where we left off yesterday and see what people are working on. We're going to go over here and see what Adrian's doing for Little Pink Best Buds. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
You're on the stream.
How's it going, stream?
How's it going?
Good, good.
What are you Oh, is this the dude? This is the player dude.
This is the player dude.
This is you.
Will you be my best buddy? Best buddy.
Patrick is working on the tall guy that you control, your first person guy. We just kind of figured out how he's going to program all of the like touching and like controlling of the arm. I did a little demo of what I thought it should look like using Maya constraints and Maya tools that you normally use for animating.
Okay, so if you press the button and like the hand goes out, right? And then you have like limited movement and you can do this. It's gonna kind of suck if you like press the button and you're this far away from a dude, because then you're gonna have to like let it go, step forward and press it again. And so you'll kind of want, like, if you press it and you press forward, like he inches forward really slowly.
Can you program it so that it like locks you down with
Yeah.
the intent to maybe do that if we need to?
Yeah.
That way we can.
So the extension of that is you're standing up and you press the button and the finger goes out. And if you aim down, then he goes into the crouch automatically, right? So that there's not two buttons. I think that'll feel really sweet.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it seems like setting up the animations for that will be pretty straightforward.
And then this guy is an overlay at here,
I guess so. Yeah.
or an overlay at here.
What about like,
It kind of doesn't matter because you can't see it.
like if the arms didn't need to actually connect to the body, that'd be fantastic.
Well, I think we can really like destroy the geometry. You know, like you can pull the verts way back, like pull the bones way back here, and like you'll have full control over that camera joint, and so you can move the camera joint up here and then like break the ribs back and then just move the finger like this.
So wait a minute, like. Yeah, I'm gonna try to like simulate kind of.
So now
So that comes out, and like wherever I look, my hand is.
But that's the thing, like when you move the controller at that point, you want finer control over the finger.
Watch this, watch. Create polygon. Like, this is gonna be our like little arrow.
Right.
Watch this. Constrain, aim. Select camera. This is gonna fucking be amazing. Watch this. So like, if you're using the mouse, ignore this mouse. But like, pretend that's our mouse where I'm pointing. Can we do this?
We can do that.
So
But
what I have
is that
here
all
is.
you want to do is you just want to pivot like one joint like this?
Well, I mean, like how it's not like we can really figure out how to go into the depth. We should just make WASD at this point. Now I wish I could program in Maya so W would actually trigger the forward, but that's the extent of my fake Maya programming. When you kneel down, I'll just like kneel you down. Kind of this. So like you can sort of walk around. That way you can get depth by using the WASD.
Yeah.
So it's like when I press W, it would go whoop and move forward a bit. And when I let go, it would go back. So I can't actually walk forward, but I could go forward. That would work for like inside the house, because that way no one would be able to walk around. But I'd be like, oh, I'm pointing at the oven, and it's like, oh, I can't reach it. Whoop, and then it like touches, then I let go.
Awesome. So is this another animation? Like,
Thi-
is left right just procedural and then forward back is procedural, or like?
I
Because in
don't.
my head, you were gonna want to animate this and animate this, and then I would blend in between these, and then this would be, I don't know,
Well, okay,
another one.
Can it work
procedural?
like I don't know if we can program it like this, but I mean the way it's working right now in Maya is like this object is like placed in a world, and it's constrained to always be aiming at this mouse point.
Yeah.
And that's how, and then the camera is also set to that, but it's constrained at like, it's 50%.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not using animations, it's constrained, it's like, that way we're not using any animations and it's just code.
Okay. As long as you don't think it's gonna look jank up here.
I think that looks fine for me.
Is there gonna be any sort of elbow joint? I mean, it would be kind of funny if it's just this.
Yeah, I don't mind if it's like, you know,
Okay.
just straight arm. I don't think we need to worry about that. I don't think. The less we can do with that, the easier it'll be, I think. And it also will be all on your plate.
Sweet.
Everyone's just plugging along, and I think there's issues that come up, but people just find solutions pretty fast, and they just keep going. I think that's why it's running so smooth, maybe, because everyone's just doing it, and I'm going, cool.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to keep up with a fast horse, but I mean, we could speed them up, obviously. Yeah. It's just, hey guys, later. Gonna be a long time.
But they do seem to be finding the positions pretty well.
Yeah, no,
And
they're
the
using the
strafing's
reservations,
working.
they're finding their positions.
Which it to look for, co-seat player or something. But yeah, we'll have to see. I think the monster currently has like a mace, which would be a little different kind of swing, but
Yeah,
still
we can
work
still
pretty
do it. We can
The
still
mace
do
is
it.
gonna be less brutal. The sword going into the horse's
Yeah.
flank is just rough.
Because I mean, that is part of it too, is to have something that feels a bit more like a bludgeon. That, like,
Yeah.
ow, that hurts, rather than you just eviscerated me.
yeah, right.
I think that fits the kind of theme of the violence too. Like we're watching Tangled, and it's like, he's fighting guys with swords, but he has a frying pan, so he gets this really solid and satisfying thong, and they're knocked out. They don't have a concussion. They're not, going to suffer serious brain injury for the rest of their lives. They'll come back in the next scene. Cartoon logic.
Let's see if I can spawn those guys now. So here's our horse. So we've brought over, let's see. So we've brought over the druid from Brutal Legend. Not all of our materials are exactly the same. So, this guy has some issues with some textures and stuff just because, we don't support all the same materials anymore that we did a few years ago. But the thing we do get from this, aside from stabbing the horse in the ass, you can see he'll do like circling behavior. He'll do following. He's got a couple of attack moves he can do. The melee reservation system is here, so these guys will attack at different spots on the horse. They won't overlap. If we were wondering why are they going where they're going, we can look at our collision and we can look at our melee reservations. So like, all right, here's the collision. The blue dots are the melee reservations. Those are the places. So you can have, you can have up to 6 druids. If you get more than 6, they'll just kind of hang out in back. They'll try to kind of keep up. I think the yellow is where they think they're going to try to path towards when they're chasing after a moving target like that. The best attack for these guys right now is when they kind of jump in and stab, because we don't want them to get too close to the horse. That's okay with like Eddie Riggs, like a melee sort of person, but with the horse, if you can spin around, you're this oblong shape, you're not as cylindrical as Eddie might be. So you don't want them getting too close, or else this horse goes and clips through them, and it's pretty ugly. So if we can get them to stay back like that guy with the lunging attack, that's just going to work out a lot better for the combat. It's going to line up a lot better when he rears up and hits them. Our collision is pretty much based on spheres. You don't want to try to do like a lying down cylinder. It's just forcing things around in bad ways. I mean, you can use this for like your collision for running around, sliding off of things, or navigating around. You pretty much want a sphere. Like if I'm standing next to this tree, and then I start rotating and it's a cylinder, is that going to push me off of the tree? Obviously right now it's a little too big as far as the sides of the horse. But in terms of collision to determine whether someone should take damage or play a launch back animation, something like that, then you can add other spheres all along here, kind of however you want. There's just the 2 different types of collision, like the actual bouncing versus the detection. For detection, you can get as complicated as you want. Also, you can see if he's doing the dodge. I'm prototyping a dodge right now. These guys don't have a roll, so I just use their side strafe, but you can see if I charge at a guy from a distance, in theory, they'll try to dodge to the side. Let's see if that actually, there's like a minimum distance that I'm tweaking. Yeah, you saw that guy dodge to the side. I don't know if it'll be more noticeable for the goblins. It'll be like a combat roll. Just not get squished, because it'll be awkward if you can just run into them. When you're close, I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do yet. Obviously, we don't really want this. Maybe a back kick at this guy and then a front kick at this guy. The other thing we have that we could pull in from Brutal or just re-implement is some basic sort of when the vehicle hits them, it launches them in the air. This isn't actually a vehicle in the engine here, but sort of pretty similar. We don't have the melee cam in yet, so I'm manually controlling it, but normally this would be the running camera over here, something like this. But then when I get into this situation, we're thinking of pulling it up and a little bit like this, and then yeah, you could do your front and back kicks here, and then rotate. Obviously, not going to rotate like that, but just kind of more snap to this direction. We're thinking if I were to hold the stick this direction and hit attack, he'd sort of rear up, and at some point during the rear up, turn to face the target, and then come and stomp down in that direction instead of turntabling. The next part is to make it not feel like Brutal. So having 2 attacks is definitely going to be part of that. Timing is going to be different. Of course, you're not going to be chaining together big combos. We're pretty lucky on Steed that we can pull a lot, at least to get us started. But then again, there's that challenge to make it then feel like its own thing, which I think John is on top of.
So I'm basically playing around with their camera right now and trying to figure out just kind of what camera settings we might be able to use in this environment. Testing some things like going up and down hills and seeing how the camera reacts to that. And one of the things I just turned on was this thing, I think it's from Brutal Legend, called the Heavy Metal Disc. It basically tries to tilt the camera to match the slope that you're on based on your velocity. And so this is kind of the steepest place we have right now. I'm trying to see how that works. So it kind of shifts up basically when I'm going up. It shifts down a little bit when I'm going down. I think it gives it a bit more life. So we have this screen space offset, so when I'm running right, the horse will slide to the left. I'm trying to figure out how I can adjust the spring values to make that happen a little quicker, because it feels very Shadow of the Colossus, which is really cool. I like it, but it's a little slow right now. So and then we'll have to see when mechanics come into play, if this messes you up at all. One of the things I was playing around with is running through environments. Oh, this has got some collision now. That's cool. That didn't happen earlier. We have some trees over here, so can you navigate in between trees with a camera that's offset like this? What is it like if you're a different type of player? So some people, like myself, I tend to be a left stick driver, so I'll kind of just drive around with the left stick. Other people like to just hold forward and then drive with the right stick. And so making sure that the view works both ways is a good thing to test out. Just make sure that works with the keyboard and mouse and with the controller. We're still playing around with spacing of elements, so this is a good test for that in terms of speed, making sure that it feels good to run in between these obstacles, and that I can then wheel around them, and the camera doesn't flip out too much. And we don't have any turn animations in right now, so this is all being this is just all our super jank early stuff to get it in, and it's a great foundation. Of course, we're not going to have. There's some issues, but that's to be expected, and. That'll be a big thing. But a big goal for today is to start figuring out how we're going to get those turns to feel good. A lot of horse games, like it's just really slow. You have big radius. You have this kind of real slow meandering turn, and that's not what you want from a character action game. I'm having fun already. I'm just running around some trees, so we'll see how it goes. Also have creepy horse eyes right now.
Break out the elements to get parallaxing to kind of work. And we're still thinking about ways in which we can kind of show off the parallax. Like, I don't know whether this is just going to be a scene where there's a bit of a fly-through and then you just back in the room, or if you will have some viewing ability, like by dragging the screen, or what that will be exactly. I'll show you some mock-ups. When you hit this button, like it'll zoom and then transition into another scene again, kind of very similar to what you saw with the balcony transformation. When you click on the button on your intercom, you would kind of get this screen and they'll say something to you, and then you'll answer them. Bagel kind of started with very clean lines, and Lee kind of showed him a little bit of, what if we tried a kind of looser color, and so these are kind of some of the next iterations. And then, okay, well, what if it had a little bit more expressiveness of the face and like some emotions, and like this is kind of where it's where we're sort of heading towards, I suppose.
We'll have some mood. We'll do several paintings that show mood, maybe some will flap, so there'll be moving a little bit. Yeah, so you can kind of see what's going on. It's mainly his mustache is like the. So he's got like an angry, and there's sort of a happy and neutral. So, well, you know, we're going to try and keep it pretty stylized and simple.
His mustache is telling the mood.
Yeah, basically.
So I think the design is getting more concrete and stabilized, and we're able to make better scoping decisions and stuff, and like kind of figure out what's at the heart of the game. I think this is like what you need to do in a jam situation. We're sort of like I don't want to say we're starting to work on it because Duncan has been his system is getting there. It's in pretty workable shape. Like we can start filling it out.
So I'm mostly getting the scenario system up and running, which is sort of the simulation layer of the game. And so we have a bunch of different actions that can happen. Like a riot might start, there's a famine or something like that. And so when any of these things start to happen, eventually one of the ministers is going to call you and say, like, look, we need to address this. You know, what are you going to do about it? Here's this form that we recommend you fill out. And so getting the layer working where, you know, the thing happens, there's a response, and then, you know, you as a player can react to that. I'm just setting that part up. So we're kind of thinking of it like a deck of cards, and that's an analogy that I think we're going to go with for a little while. Dear Leader could almost be a board game, but we're starting off with like a deck of scenarios, you know, like famine, you know, strike, all that kind of stuff, and we're seeing like what could happen based on what the conditions of the game are. You know, have these things happened yet? You know, is the loyalty of the country at a certain level where this makes sense? You know, are their needs being met? And if not, then, you know, one of these cards might make sense to kind of put in the hand, which is like the current scenarios that are running. We're going to shuffle that deck at the beginning of the game just to get people a different playthrough every time that they're on the game. Moai is the engine, and 2HP is kind of our, you know, development environment. This is the similar engine that we're using for Hack and Slash, and so I've done a lot of this Lua stuff for there, but there's always different systems. Like we don't have you know, dialogue trees in the same way, or our resource system in Broken Age is a lot more advanced than what we had to use for Hack and Slash, and so like I've been kind of adjusting to those different styles and stuff. It makes it difficult because it's not a game where there's like a bunch of characters running around and like interacting with each other, and like it's also not a point-and-click adventure, so it's not what the engine, you know, exactly what it was made for. So even though we're reusing some of those systems, the underlying structure that goes for, you know, that's doing all the work for this game is pretty new. And so that's why I think it's taking a lot of this week to get everything really stable so that we can get all the content in as quickly as possible.
Would you say that any of the systems are terribly complex?
No, definitely not. It's just that there's a ton of different ways to write them. Making sure that we can support our initial vision and then be adaptable to all the different design things that are coming in, and like, oh, by the way, I want this one scenario to like do this thing, and then, you know, hopefully we can support that really easily without making a bunch of modifications. That's kind of what I'm trying to plan for. That always takes just a few days to get used to that stuff, but it's not too bad.
The current situation over there made you think differently about this at all, or?
You know, someone actually, Camden asked me about this before today, and I've actually like I was following it for a little while, and then now I can't even watch the news because seeing the whole city like just fall apart, it's been really upsetting for me. So I just like I've stopped following it altogether. And the thing about the game is that I think it does kind of touch on a lot of it, but ultimately the game is a critique of what I think is a bad way of governing. I don't see how someone could really be hurt by it, or I hope they won't be. I mean, it's not. I'm also trying to include all of the best parts of the Russian culture of that time, and, you know, trying to give it its due as well, you know, so I don't know. We'll see.
And then from here, you would just be exploring the scene and typical alley ambience that we'd be playing, things like that. It's black and white noir setting, but it's kind of got like a sci-fi feel to it. So Blade Runner was kind of the main influence I was given to get going with it. I did want to like mix in some organic elements. Mainly it's like synth pads and like arpeggiated stuff with just classical orchestral instruments, like mostly in the melody or the bass layers. The stuff I have right now is mostly just like what I want the sound to be like, and then getting that approval from Derek, and then from there I want to like get to the songwriting and developing it so it flows better in the game. It's been just kind of reactionary, trying to make it match what it's turning into. I think a lot of it too is I've been working on the hack and slash music too, so I think some of that elements are bleeding in. But it's also been a nice detour because a lot of that has like hip hop elements and things like that, and this is more just trying to use more like orchestral percussion and stuff like that, so give it a little more serious vibe. So in Mnemonic, you start out in like a hub room where your memories, basically the unlocked memories, you enter in that way. And for there, I think we wanted to do something like a looping cue that just plays, but just kind of subtle when it comes in. So this piece here is just first attempt at something we could have playing in that area. Yeah, that's kind of where we started. That was the first piece I worked on for the game. And there's like an area in the game where you're on like a car ride, and obviously felt like that should have a lot more motion. But it's just been kind of weird because we don't know what the puzzle elements are going to be yet. Is there going to be like interaction with the radio? Does it make sense for music to be looping there? So a lot of these questions need to be answered before anything gets finished, but it's always good to just be proactive and try to do some stuff.
It's like I can also look into it. I'm just like trying to get a list of all the things that actually need to be done.
Yeah, no, I don't. I can probably work with Jeff on this. I think that you should keep your time for doing the stuff that you're planning on doing.
What I'm doing.
The secret.
Sitting at my desk, drinking coffee.
Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
Working on Broken Age?
No, not anymore. It's done. You guys are okay? Gameplay-wise, all makes sense.
At 4, we're supposed to talk to Derek and show him what we came up with. We came up with like a first pass on like maybe 75% of like the puzzles and what items bring you from one memory to the next.
Oh, good.
We have like a pretty good flow.
Do we have enough information to actually implement things? I'm just worried, like it's like, you know, it's Thursday now, so this is like, you know, if you think about it from a traditional game production point of view, like pre-production is over and we haven't really written a single line of gameplay code, which kind of makes me a bit worried at this point, you know. If tomorrow morning we still don't have any gameplay to implement, then we need to talk. Like this needs to get started as well. Otherwise, we're gonna be having a bad time next week, and I'd rather not have a bad time.
It's a really tall order. And Derek met with Tim yesterday, and Tim kind of convinced him, I guess, like I don't really know, but Derek came out of that meeting and was kind of like, yeah, I think it should just be more of a straight ahead, like lock and key style adventure game, except the locks and the keys are like weird, surreal things and stuff like that. And the challenge, which is totally cool. It's challenging. It's a challenging thing for me because like I'm not like a narrative designer. I'm not a story linear stuff is like not my bag, both in terms of like what I want to work on, what I want to make, and then also what I want to play. Primarily, like I play the like, I don't know, deep, nerdy mechanical games, and I get like really into them. Like we're playing Monster Hunter again right now, and it's like that game is the polar opposite of this kind of thing, you know, where it's like, why are you killing these monsters? So you can like use their parts to like make better armor and make better stuff so you can kill bigger monsters. You know, it's like the kind of the dumbest, like most base setup. I really wanted to work on his game, and I really wanted to like help him out and support him making something cool, because I personally worry about being like the weakest link. When I first started working here, I was working on Psychonauts, and like, you know, the story and the characters and the dialogue and the writing and like all these things people remember Psychonauts for, but nothing that I did. You know, I was just like trying to make the combat not bad. I feel like I was working on like what many people consider to be the weakest part of the game, or at least the part that doesn't stand out, you know? And I feel like since then, it hasn't been true. I've been like more focused on mechanics and like doing stuff that's more like in my wheelhouse. And you see like Iron Brigade is like, and like Master Chalice is totally different too. Like it's just all about the mechanics, and like we're just gonna fill the story in the gaps, and like that's not what it's about. so now it's like there are no mechanics, you know, like there almost are like zero mechanics in this kind of a game. Basically, it's like there's a huge mountain of awesome ideas, and we have to put them together, we have to sort through them and then put them together in a linear order that makes sense, where nobody gets stuck, and it's super satisfying to play the game. Like, you know, cool, and I have no experience doing it. So it's like, I also think about how much more difficult it is for Derek, like being a concept artist, because his main, it's not like we got a concept artist as well, because he's a concept artist. So that's another piece of the beginning of the assembly line. So like he's had to skip out on some of these meetings so that he can like concept the character that we need to like get being built, you know? So it's like, that is really tough. Definitely the like, the low end right now, but it's cool. Like I think we're close to having some of this stuff worked out. So, all right, Derek, you ready for this?
Yeah, always ready.
It does change things. You ready for that?
We added a gun.
You took another stab at like, what is the chronology? Is that a word?
Yeah.
Nice.
Chronological order of the story
What? Yes, that thing. What is the chronological order of the story? He was into most of it. You're gonna find objects in these scenes that unlock the other memories, and those are all very cool. There's like shape, symbolism, language that will kind of tie into it, and that actually is like kind of foreshadowing some of the other things in the story, and like simply inspecting some object in the world and having that sort of like flash you back to the hub and like reveal the next door, and the door has that symbol on it, and then you go in there and then you're looking at the actual symbol, like what that means, and then cool, like that part seems super awesome. Unfortunately, that's not the like adventure game part of it. That's more the like, it's not really gameplay, right? It's like just sort of looking at an object and then like having the next kind of memory unlocked and the next like environment unlocked and stuff. Like, so everybody feels really confident about that. He really liked that too, like all three of those. You know, the things that he didn't like, we were kind of like, we didn't know how they were really gonna work anyway. And he was like, maybe not this. And we're like, yeah, that idea sucks anyway, like, cool. Oh, those are like headlights that would be coming in the front of the car. That's why she's freaked out. But that's basically like what we would, that's like the logical leap that we would want you to take is that.
The cool thing is the reflection.
But I think it's good to present that stuff because maybe he'll be like, maybe, but this, and then it's like cool, and then it's closer to his actual vision, you know, and it would be really good. Andy suggested it's like a heart with wings on it.
That's pretty much. Yeah, let's do that.
And it's like cool, and it's cool foreshadowing for it, right? There's basically only 4. There's like we shaved it down to like these 4 puzzles, one that you solve in each one. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like it's definitely flexing the brain in a different way, and it's your brain doesn't like that. Nobody's brain likes that.
Looking back on the first few days, it was like everybody had so many ideas that were like springing up from it, and everyone thought it was something different, which was really interesting and really frustrating at the time. But like looking back, that's like a really good sign of I think a good idea. It's like there's so many things you can pull from for it. I think we're starting to wrangle that down though, and like really get specific with what we want to just show in the prototype. I think it's stress and like worrying about stuff. I think when I might sleep pretty okay tonight. Last night I didn't sleep at all, and the night before I didn't sleep at all either. I had like a few hours, but now I definitely know what it's going to be. So that's really comforting.